So the straps, remember, are hanging on the shelves. Grab one, make sure you leave it so that I can take it home to wash it. So those of you at home, we need a strap today for class. This is Yoga Flow on the 5th of January. Grab blankets if you need. Let yourself take your time. It's kind of chilly in here. You guys, I tried to warm it up, but
We'll warm it up.
feet and hands are cool. So, ease your way in. And those of you at home, if anyone's out there and wants to let me know they can hear, that would be great. But Happy New Year. Let's get started. So sit however's comfortable and let yourself release into the length of your own spine, lengthening up through the top of your head. Let your shoulders release down. And easily accepting your breaths in and out through your nose. Allowing now to start to feel your face softening. And then start to move with your breath very gradually, exhaling your way forward and inhaling your way back up. Does not matter how far forward you go. Keeping your back nice and long. Next time that you come back upright, let yourself stay sitting up nice and tall, bringing our arms on out beside us. Now, if you have a block handy, reach over with your left hand, put your left hand on that block, rise your right arm on out and up overhead, and come over into a side stretch here, breathing into that side. Let your head move around a little bit. So if you're okay to turn to look down at the floor, forward, maybe even up a little bit. Just be mindful. Ease through your neck a little bit here. And then we're going to rise on back up. Lower that right arm down. Again, whether it's on the block or the floor, or if you're in your chair, just let the hand release comfortably. Lifting the left arm up. And again, just releasing over into that side stretch. And again, let your neck get a little bit of movement there. If you can turn to look down. Not where it feels uncomfortable, just where you feel like you're letting your neck get just a nice little easy stretch. And then we'll rise again to come on back up to the top. Clasp your hands behind you. Flex your feet. If you're on the floor, flex your feet, press down into the outside edges of your feet, or if your legs are long, into your heels. And then come on forward. Maybe just a little tiny bit. Maybe you like to fold over your legs. That's totally up to you. Just coming into the hips. Imagine almost that you're leading with your chest. And then we'll slowly rise on back up. And if you are cross-legged on the floor, we're going to switch the cross of the legs. So changing the leg that's in front here. And then again, getting comfortable, we're going to ease forward and back with our breath, letting our exhalations bring us forward and our inhalations bring us back up. So just being easy as you let the breath now start to Allow the body to physically move, linking your movement to your breath. Finishing to sit up nice and tall again. Arms again on out beside us. Let's take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, twisting to our right. So letting the spine wake up here. Bring that left hand around, maybe to your right knee, maybe to the midline. And let your right fingertips just lightly touch the floor, or allow the arm to release to where you're comfortable if you're sitting in a chair. And one more inhale. And on the exhale, come on back around through center and all the way into the other direction with that twist. Feel your sitting bones drawing down. Feel your low belly engaging. One more inhale. And on the exhale, come on back around into center. Float your arms up a little bit. Let's bring our left arm on top of our right. Give yourself a hug wherever you feel like putting your hands, really. And then bring your chin down towards your chest. Just release. Let the chin turn a little bit side to side. In other words, even if it feels good to shift your shoulders a little bit side to side, to find a little extra release there between your shoulder blades, do. And then we'll make our way back into center, bring the head on back up so we can switch and put our right arm on top of our left. Again, you can hold lower, you can go over the shoulders if it feels good for you. Head can come forward. Again, if you like to move around a little bit, you can shift a little with your shoulders. Your head can turn a little bit if you want. Just be mindful, let it feel really good. And then release the head back to center, rising on up, and let our arms come on out beside us here now. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And we'll make our way towards our hands and knees here now. So, you know, if the knees don't want to be on the floor, put a blanket underneath them if that feels better. If your hands feel the same way, come to fist if you need to, right? Or use your blocks underneath your hands. Sometimes that's a bit of a difference. So get yourself situated. Really see if you can bring your gaze between your hands. And on your next exhale, draw on up into your cat pose. Really feel the tailbone dropping down. Let the crown of the head just drop down towards the ground or the chair. And as you inhale, send your tailbone back and up. Come on in through to that neutral spine or perhaps cow pose. And then when you're ready, just moving with your own breath through your spine. Flowing through the back. Good. And then finish off the one you're on. And we'll come to more neutral spine here now. And we're going to send our right foot behind us. So keep your left knee down if you're on your hands and knees. Otherwise, just do a little mini lunge. And just open up the back of that right leg there. Zip up your belly. Feel your hands pressing equally into the floor. And then we'll bring that right knee down and switch to bring the left foot back. Curl the toes under. Open up the back of that left leg. Good. And then we'll bring our left foot forward and come into our first lunge. So if you like your blocks under your hands, you can grab them. You can be any height you want. Bringing that right foot back. Take your time. Remember, you want your feet like you're on a really narrow railroad track here. So find your way into that alignment of that front knee. Feel the feet in the floor. switch legs. So however you want to come to the other side, whether you like to step forward or back. Again, find that alignment for yourself. And waking up the back of that left leg, lengthening through the back body. Good, then we're going to switch again. And this time, once you get that left foot forward, bring your left hand on up to your left hip and roll on up into a little twist there. Keep your hand on your low back. Check the alignment here. Make sure you're not dropping into the right side. Lengthen out through the top of your head. And then come on back down with that hand, and we're going to switch legs again. So finding that lunge. Right hand comes on up to the right hip, and if you can roll the shoulder up, put the palm down onto your low back again. Just make sure you're not dropping way down into that left side. You're level, pretty level in your hips. Good. And then we'll come on back down with the hand, and let's step forward. Come on into standing forward bend. Take your time, let your knees bend a little bit, and then let your torso sway a little bit from side to side. It's not a big movement, just a little bit, and you can have your hands on blocks of the chair to do it, right? Just easily letting the upper body sway a little bit. And then come on back into center. Let yourself find those four corners of your feet. Coming into standing forward bend using whatever support you need. So hands on blocks, elbows above knees. Full deep breaths. Good. So one more breath here. And then we'll let our hands come on up to our hips, bend our knees, rise on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. So coming into mountain pose here, actually let yourself pick one foot up at a time and shift your weight to one foot and then the other. And then just get that right distance apart for you, for your feet, where it feels very easy. Feel very balanced between your feet. Let yourself feel connected there through your hands, bringing your gaze on forward. And then as we inhale, keeping your hands together, let them come up through the midline. Now when we exhale, we're going to bring them right back down where they came from. So again, letting your inhales, rise your hands up through the midline. And on the exhale, bringing them back down into in front of your chest. And then one more time, inhaling the hands up through the midline. And on the exhale, bringing the hands on back down together. And we're going to unfold our arms beside us. Float your arms a little breath away from you and turn your palms forward. Coming into mountain pose here, feeling that sense of equality between the sides of your body. And then we'll bring our hands behind us, clasp them, take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, bend your knees and fold forward into your standing forward bend. Now, you know your back more than anybody, so you be where you can. If your arms can come away from your back, if that feels good for your shoulders, let that happen. If not, don't. Just be mindful. Nice full breaths. And then we're going to release our arms on down and let your hands come to your shins. Press into your shins, go into straight arms, and find a nice long back, looking kind of straight down towards the ground. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into lunge here. And inhale. Exhale into our downward facing dog pose. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Hug your elbows towards each other. Walk if you want. Good. And on the next inhale, we're going to come on out to plank. Engage your belly. Take your time here. See if you can pick your right foot a little bit up off the floor. and then put it down. And now try your left foot. Try to stay really strong in your belly, in your core. And then bring it down, and we're going to lower down to the mat. If you want to put your knees down first, do. Elbows right by the ribs. Then we'll come up into a little Sphinx pose. Elbows underneath the shoulders, letting yourself spread your fingers nice and wide, bringing your gaze there between your hands. Now see if you can really feel your thumbs and your pinkies pressing down into the ground. And then your pointer fingers, your ring fingers. And then finally your middle fingers, so you feel very even now through your hands. One more breath. And then we're going to come all the way back down, hands by the chest. We're going to come back into down dog, either through a half or a full push-up, or you can go back to your hands and knees and back to your down dog. See if you can just be with your breath here in your dog. Feel the breath coming into the back body when you inhale. And we'll bring the right foot forward to come into lunge from here. Whatever you need to do, left knee down if you need. And then we'll come back into standing forward bend. Full deep breaths. Even yourself out between your feet. Find the four corners of your feet and use whatever support you want. And then we'll bring our hands back to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise up. We'll inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Unfold your arms. Clasp your hands again behind you. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, let yourself come on forward. Now, if you need to stay parallel to the floor, do. If you feel like you want to fold over your legs, do. That is up to you. And then if you can release your arms off your back at all, again, just coming into your shoulders where you can. And then we'll let our arms come on down. Hands to the shins again. Inhale into that long back. Long arms, straight arms. Bend your knees a little bit. Reach back through your tailbone. Find that sense of a really flat tabletop back. And then see if you could bring your left elbow over towards your right knee, and maybe even bringing your hands into prayer, into a twist here. And then we'll come on back to center, hands back to the shins. And we'll go right elbow towards the left knee. If you can reach it all the way, do. Bring your hands together into prayer hands. Come into twist there. And then we'll come on back again into that long back. And then from here, let's step our left foot back and come into lunge. Press the feet away from each other. Engage your belly here. Inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Hug your elbows towards each other. Now bend your knees a little bit and really reach back through your sitting bones. Finding that length through both sides of the body. Good, and then walk a little bit in your dog. Let one leg come straight while the other one stays bent, and then you just switch when you're ready. You can work through the tops of the toes to press into the top of the toes if you want to stretch out the top of your feet too. Good. And then finish off back to your full dog and let your next inhale bring you to your plank. And again, we're going to lower down. Whether you put your knees down first or not is up to you. Elbows right by the ribs. This time, release your arms down alongside you. Your head still down. Turn your palms down towards the ground. And on your next inhale, lift your hands up a little bit. Reach back through the tips of your fingers. And then put your hands back down. And now try lifting your legs up. Both legs, really reaching. Point the feet a little bit, really stretching out through the feet there. And then bring the feet back down. And now, let's come into a little locust pose. So bringing everything you can up off the floor. Reaching back towards the wall behind you. And then lower down. Bring your hands by your chest. Hug your elbows towards each other. Press into your hands and rise up into a little cobra. You can go higher and higher and higher if you choose to, but you don't need to. You can stay down low. Take your time. And then from here, we'll come on back down. We're going to make our way back into down dog. So coming back into your downward facing dog pose. And bringing our left foot forward. We'll find lunge. And then we'll come all the way into standing forward bend. Right to your breaths. So see if you can stay with those full, complete breaths all the way in and out. And then we'll bring our hands on up to our hips and bend our knees and rise on up. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right up through the midline. Bend your elbows now. Put your hands, if you can, kind of right at the back of the top of your head. And let your elbows rise up, maybe even letting your gaze come up a little bit. Now feel your tailbone reaching down towards between your heels. Finding that uplift in the front of the body. One more breath. And then look forward again. Extend your arms up long. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come on forward into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale lengthen out your spine. Exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Inhale carries you to plank. Your exhale will lower you down, and your inhale will bring you into your cobra of choice. Exhale back into down dog. Inhale, exhale right foot forward to lunge, and inhale. Exhale into your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rise up, arms all the way up to the top. And on the exhale, we're going to fold forward again. Let your inhale lengthen your spine. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. Inhale, exhale, downward dog. Let your inhale carry you to your plank. Your exhale will lower you down. And again, inhale into your cobra of choice. And exhale back into downward facing dog pose. Inhale, exhale, left foot forward. And inhale. Exhale into your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rise up, arms all the way to the top. And on the exhale, folding forward. Let your inhale lengthen your spine. We're going to come into down dog. Place your hands. You can walk or jump. Have some fun in your dog. Do what you want. Walk. Shake your feet out if you want to. Wiggle around. Spread your fingers wide. Feel those elbows hugging towards each other. Good. Kind of nice when dog becomes a resting pose. And then from here, we'll bring our left foot forward. Now, you may want your blocks. We're coming up for warrior one. So, get yourself established here with your warrior one. So, turning your shoulders square to that front edge of your mat. And then, once you get there, let yourself just release your arms to hang. Like, really feel the weight of your arms. Feel that openness across your chest. Feel your back foot in the floor there. And really be aware of that openness here in the front of your right hip. So as you lift that right arch up and reach down into the four corners of that foot, really opens up here the front of the leg. And we're going to rise the arms forward, up overhead. You can go into a wide V or you can be right over your shoulders. Turn your pinkies a little towards each other and bring your gaze on up. Coming into warrior one here. Feeling that sense of the arms just easily growing out of the back. So your shoulders aren't tensing up for your arms to be overhead. One more breath. And then we'll lower our arms on down. We're straightening the left knee out. We are going to square our hip pointers off for pyramid here. Bring your hands behind you, and you can clasp your hands. Or if you'd rather, you can hold on to your wrists or your elbows even, or your forearms. Feel your thighs engaging upward and start to ease your way forward. Now, zip up the low belly. You might only want to come 2 inches and be quite happy to stay there without putting your hands down. Or you may decide you want to go farther. That's up to you. If you have the control where you feel like you want to release farther over the leg, do. And one more breath. And now you are going to release your hands down to whatever you like to put them on the blocks, on the chair, on the floor. Take your time. If you need to adjust your stance a little bit, do. And you may even want to keep on going and fold all the way over that front leg. And you know that is totally up to you. Enjoy the thighs lifting upward. One more breath. And now from here, we're going to come on back parallel to the floor a little bit with our bodies. We're going to bend the front knee and come back to Warrior One, which is not easy. Bringing your hands to your heart as you lift yourself back up into Warrior One. Hands to the heart here now, finding that core strength. Shoulders over hips, bringing your gaze forward. And then we'll bring our hands down. We're straightening the left knee out. We're going to turn our feet more parallel for a wide-legged forward bend. So you might need to adjust. And as you come forward, grab blocks if you want them, right? So bringing yourself on forward, hands to blocks or the floor, and go ahead and bend a knee at a time. Let yourself take time to find that inner thigh stretch. So maybe don't go through too quickly, but stay for a second with one knee bent before you switch. Good. And then come on back into center and see if you can walk your hands out further, kind of like you're doing down dog with your feet really wide like this. Separate your hands a little wider than you do though in your dog. Hug your elbows towards each other. Let your heart melt down towards the ground. Good. And then see if you can come out like you're going to do a plank like this. And that might mean you need your hands to walk a little farther out. See if you can come like you're doing a plank. Nice and strong. And then we'll come on back with the hips and walk our hands back again. And walk our hands over to the right now. So how far you go towards that right foot is up to you. Once you get as far as you want to go, bring your right hand on up. Roll that right shoulder up if you want a little more. And then bring the right hand back down. We're going to walk back through center and walk over to the left. Again, you don't have to go all the way to the foot. You go as far as you want. You can use a block. Bring your left hand on up and see if you can roll the shoulder up a little bit. And then we'll come down with the hand and we're going to come on back into center. And bend both your knees for a second. See if you can let yourself release here in the upper body. Do whatever you need to do that. Use blocks underneath your forearms or head. And then go ahead and ease your way to where you think you can stay. Watching your breaths easily. You're not tensing up, right? Obviously you're using the lower body. You're standing up. You've got to be using your legs, your hips. But see if you can really enjoy the weight of your head. Coming into full deep breaths now. One more breath. And from here, we're going to walk our hands back out a little bit so we can walk back to that left foot. We're going to come on back into lunge here. And from here, making our way back into downward facing dog pose. Once you're in dog, walk to the tops of the feet one at a time. Press into the top of the toes or the toenails, really. Let yourself stretch out the feet. And then come on back to your full dog. If you're so inclined, you can come out to plank and move through for a back bend. Whether you go through chaturanga or not, up to you. So finish off whatever one you're doing. Meet back in down dog. Good. And then we'll bring our right foot forward. We're coming up for that warrior one, remember? So take your time. Get yourself squared off there with your shoulders. Get that back left foot in a place where you're very comfortable to be, right? And you can feel the arch lifting up. The foot is in the floor, all four corners, arch lifts up, opening through the left side of the hip here now. And then feel the weight of your arms. So that when you get ready to inhale the arms forward and up, it really is like they're just growing out of your back. It's very natural, very easy. Feel that uplift in the front of the body. Energy all the way out through the fingertips. One more breath. And then we're going to bring our arms down, straighten that front knee out, square off as best you can your hips, and bring your hands behind you. Again, whether you clasp them or you hold your elbows or your forearms starting to come forward, thighs engage up, even if you only want to come an inch or two. So try not to use the hands at first and just letting your legs really deeply engage, lengthening out through the spine. One more breath. And then when you're ready to bring your hands down, whatever surface you want to use, blocks or the floor, you can always adjust. Adjust your stance too if you need to. Feel those thighs lifting up. If you want to fold forward over that front leg, do. Good. One more breath. And now bring the hands back forward so you can lengthen again. We're going to come up to warrior one, so if you need to adjust your feet a little bit when you bend that front knee, do. And then bringing your hands to your heart as you rise on back into your warrior one here. Shoulders over hips. Feel the back foot in the floor. And then lowering our arms down, we're going to come again into that wide-legged forward bend. So take your time. This time, once you get forward and you ground your hands either on a block of the floor, turn your toes out a little bit. And then bend your right knee. And see if you can keep your left heel on the floor, but pick the rest of the foot up. Pick up the ball of the foot and the toes. And then put that left foot back down. Come back through center. Bend your left knee. It's not a deep bend. And then lift the right foot up. You're still on the heel. And then come on back to center. Bend both your knees like you're in goddess, right? But your hands are out on the blocks of the floor. Let yourself just open up there in the hips. And then come into straighter legs. Turn the toes forward. Come a little more parallel. And if you're able to walk your hands back towards between your feet, do. But you know your back. If you're able to have the hands between the feet, shoulder distance apart, hug your elbows towards each other, and then draw your shoulders away from your ears, and press your feet gently away from each other, like you're trying to make your mat longer, with your feet. Nice breaths. And then from here, we're going to walk our hands back out if they were under us. And we're going to walk back to that right foot. Come on back into your lunge however you need. And come on back into down dog. And then again, as you come out to your plank, totally up to you if you want to come into any vinyasas or kriyas. Yeah? If you feel like you'd rather come down and do a cobra or come down and do a sphinx, If you don't want to go through chaturanga, don't bend the elbows. Just let yourself come out to a plank. Or rest in your dog, or rest in child's pose. Just be mindful of what your body needs. Good. And let's go ahead and meet back in down dog. And then from here, we'll bring our left foot forward. Now, have your blocks handy, if you have some, here by the front of your mat. And we're going to come up for warrior two. So go ahead, line up that back foot, line up your heels, bend that front knee. Bring your arms up into a wide V if you can. See if you can feel, in fact, make it a little bit wider than you might normally do, right? Like really let yourself drop the shoulders down, arms are open wide, palms face each other. And then slowly turn the palms away from each other so you're getting ready to lower the hands down and bring your gaze right out over the top of that left hand. Feet pressing gently away from each other. Good, warrior two, nice. We're gonna turn the left palm up. Inhale, reach up towards the sky. Nice full breath into the left side. And on the exhale, come into your side angle, whether it's your left hand or forearm onto your thigh. If you can swing that right arm up into line, do. And take your time here now. Just enjoy. Lengthening through both sides of the body, finding that connection between your right sit bone and your right heel. All that length. One more breath. And now we're going to turn to face the floor and find lunge. So you might want your blocks. And let yourself find your lunge here. And then we're going to walk our hands towards the inside of that left foot. So you may want your blocks under your hands. Turn your left toes towards that left front corner of your mat. So you're going just a little bit deeper here into your lunge. Now all the rest of this, pretty optional, right? So if you're okay to lower your back knee down, do. Pressing into the top of the toes. And now some of us might want to come down more with our forearms down towards the blocks or the floor too. So if you do, you can do that. If that feels good in your hips. Don't do it if it hurts your knees or your hips. Stay in your lunge, be where you can. Press. If you have that knee down, press into the top of the toes. Enjoy that openness now through the front of the right hip. The release in the left hip there. One more breath. And now shift your hips back and walk your hands to either side of that left front foot here now. So you're evening out again. And then shift your hips back and straighten your left leg out and kind of let your torso come forward and out over that left leg, which is pretty intense in the hamstring. So, you know, you can stay up as high as you want on blocks. Take your time. Feel the heel of the left foot on the floor. Draw it back towards you a little bit. Now, some of you might actually want to go towards a split from here, but don't do it if you don't want to, right? So if it feels good to shift your left foot heel forward a little bit more and come towards a split, you don't have to do a whole split, you know. You can come into where you can. Let yourself find where you can be there. And then when you're ready, bring yourself on back. Let's come back onto all fours here. And then we'll curl our toes under, come back into down dog. Walk a little bit here, wag your tail, go through some vinyasas or kriyas if you want. So take your time, let yourself move in whatever way you feel like you want to move. Or rest in dog. Good. And then we'll meet back in downward facing dog pose. Bringing the right foot forward. We're going to come up for that warrior two on the other side. So again, line up. Line up your heels, get that back foot lined up. Line up the front knee. Rise the arms up into that wide open V. So really, literally, your shoulders aren't lifting up at all. When you turn the pinkies towards each other, it's like the muscles that come wrapping around underneath your arms is what's holding them up. And then turn your palms away from each other. Start to lower the arms down, bringing your gaze to look right out over the top of that right hand. Feet equal in the floor. We're going to turn the right palm up. Inhale, reach up towards the sky. And on your next exhale, come into that side angle. So again, hand or forearm onto that thigh. Bring the left arm up and take your time there. Let yourself find that length through both sides of the body. Drawing that outer right hip back a little, lining up that that knee right there. One more breath. Gotta love this pose. We're gonna turn to face the floor. Lunge. So you got your blocks maybe, totally up to you. Bringing them to the inside of that right foot. So now the right toes are gonna slightly turn out towards that corner, that right front corner of your mat. Stay here for a second. Let your hips and legs adjust. And then when you can, lower that back knee if you can. And you can use a blanket underneath the knee. Press into the top of the foot. Now this coming down with the forearms is optional, and how low you want to go is optional as well. So you don't even have to come down. You can stack 2 blocks up if that feels good. Better to be up higher. Press into the top of the left foot back there. So you're engaged as you're stretching your hip flexor there. Nice. Now we're going to slowly come up. We're going to shift our hips back, bring our hands to either side of that right foot so we can square off our hips when we come forward over that right long leg. Your heel is on the floor of the right leg and it's drawing back towards you. So you're engaged in the hamstring as you're stretching it. And again, we're all different. Doesn't matter how far over that leg you come. You just go to where you get a nice stretch, and if it's like too much, come out of it a little bit. And then, of course, that coming forward with the heel sliding forward in front of you, coming towards a split. Totally optional, you know that. You go where you can or stay where you were. Let yourself open up where you can in your hips. Good. Now coming back out of this, take your time. Bring yourself on back with your knee. Come on back to all fours. And we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Yay for the dog. And you're on your own. You want to do vinyasas or kriyas, go for it. If you're like, no way, I'm putting my knees down, then do it. Take your time. Good. Finish off, meet back in down dog. And then we're going to bend our knees deeply. Think about getting towards the front of our mats, whether we want to jump or walk. So let yourself come forward. Coming into standing forward bend. Let your Uttanasana be really easy. Hands wherever feels good for you to feel the best in the pose. One more breath. And then press into your feet. Rise on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Nice mountain pose here. If you need to adjust, do. Let yourself find that effortless feeling of being in your mountain pose. Nice. And then we'll bring our arms on down. Shake out. Move around a little bit if you need to. We're going to bring our mats into a wall. If you've got a wall at home, you'll just need a little bit of a touch to the wall. So take your time. Let yourself bring left hand towards the wall. And then try this for tree pose today. See if you can really get your left foot set. I mean, some people it feels better to turn the left toes out a little bit towards the wall. Some people want to be more parallel. just a little bit of turnaround's okay if that's better for your hip. But then bring your right heel into your inner left ankle and put your right toes on the floor. So you've got a bit broader base of support, right? Then let your hands come to your heart. Maybe this is it. This might be it. This might feel where you feel the best. You might not even want to think about shifting to put the foot up onto your inner calf, but you can if you want. And if you're like, oh, that feels pretty good, maybe I'll reach down and bring the foot up into my inner thigh. Then you can. So obviously use the ball if you need it, but just play a little bit. Let yourself find an easiness about your tree pose. Good. Now we're going to release the right foot down. Bend the right knee. Let the right heel come behind you towards your buttocks. Now, don't reach back for your foot quite yet, even if you can get it. Let yourself stay there for a second. And then if you can reach back and get hold of the top of that right foot, do. Pull the heel in towards your buttocks a little bit. Keep the knees side by side. And then start to push that right foot into your hand if you have it there, and come forward with your chest and back with your knee. So your press doesn't have to be a deep thing for a dancer's pose. You can decide to bring that left arm off the wall and balance. Maybe you want to stay up higher. Maybe you want that knee to go back further. Still imagine, though, that you're kind of leading with your chest, right? And then we're going to release. Come on back down. Lower that foot down. And we're going to turn around. And again, setting up right foot about parallel to the wall or toes slightly turned inward. Heel onto your inner ankle. Left heel onto that inner right ankle. So once you let go of the wall, obviously it's a lot easier to balance when you have that much of a base. So it's kind of fun just to bring your hands to your heart. Feel happy right there. And if it feels like, I can put the foot on my inner calf. It feels really good. It's almost like that calf was made for my foot to be there because it's kind of, you feel the curves of the foot coming into the curves of your calf. And of course, if you want to reach down and bring your foot up higher into your inner thigh, you can. You can hold the ball anytime you need.
My foot's too slippy.
Yes, and if you have on slippery pants, it makes it.
Yeah.
When you do, that's why it's better just to stay low when you have on the wrong kind of slippery pants, all right? Good. And now let your foot come down. Hand can come back to the wall. Bend your left knee. Flex the foot. Feel the heel coming in. If you can reach back and get hold of the top of the foot, see if you can pull the heel in towards your outer buttocks a little bit. And then do the opposite. Press the foot into your hand. Let your knee come back. Your chest start to come forward. Maybe just a tiny little bit. And maybe you want to balance right there. Of course, you can go further if you want. And if you feel like you want the knee to come back further, chest to come further forward, do. And then when you're ready, release your way on down. Come on down. Actually, come back to your mat and let your hips circle a little bit, like you're doing a hula hoop. So your knees are bent, and let the hips circle around in one direction. And then circle them again around in the other direction. Of course, if you're doing a hula hoop, it'd be a lot faster, and it probably would be falling down to the ground. But if you haven't tried one lately, they're not as easy as they used to be. But we're going to come on down to our bellies on the floor. So come on down and let yourself come onto your belly. And release your head, forehead onto your hands. Enjoy a couple of breaths there. Let your low back release. Then curl your toes under for a second and lift your knees up off the floor so that you feel a nice stretch in the bottoms of your feet. And then go ahead and put the thighs back down, come back to the tops of the feet. And then bend your knees, bring your feet up and circle them around. Circle your feet, it doesn't matter how. And you can even do the windshield wiper blades, letting your lower legs come one side to the other. Good. And then come on back down with the legs and come on up with your torso so you have yourself into a Sphinx pose. So your elbows are basically under your shoulders. Spread your fingers wide. Remember how we felt the thumbs and the pinkies pressing? The pointer fingers, the ring fingers, and the middle fingers. And now bring your hands together, clasp them, send your pinkies out, and press down into the outer edge of your hand. Press into your forearms. From here, see if you can curl your toes underneath. Do a half forearm plank, or you can do a full one. You can lift your knees up or not. Take your time. And those of you who are in a full forearm plank, see if you can start to walk your feet up towards your face a little bit for dolphin. So now if you have to put your knees down and come up to dolphin, do that. Once you're in dolphin, let your right leg come up in the air. Come into a little three legs. And then put that down and let your left leg come up in the air. And then put that down, and now see if you can walk back to your plank. So that motion in itself is pretty intense. If it bothers you, don't do it. And then come down to your belly, release your arms down alongside you, and float your way into a locust pose. And breathe. Feels kind of like a relief. And then we're going to come back onto our forearms again. Elbows under the shoulders. Find your plank or your half plank. Nice and strong. Now, it's optional to walk up to that dolphin to do that again. If you want to, you can. If not, don't do it. Good. And then we're all going to come down with our knees and come into child's pose. So however you can get there. Let yourself bring your big toes together, knees apart, whether you want your arms overhead or bring your arms back alongside your legs. Find the best release for your shoulders, for your back, and for your hips. Easy breaths. If you need to turn your head one way, do. You can always just turn your head the other way to even out. Good. And then we're going to let our hands come back by our knees. We're going to come up to sitting. So bring yourself around, grab your straps, and get up on a blanket or higher if you need to, all right? For a little bit of a forward bending with a strap, okay? Let's do right foot in the strap. And let your left leg do what it needs. So if your knee, left knee or your hip bother you, really pay attention. If you need a block underneath your knee, if you need to put your foot lower, it's like in tree pose. You know, your foot can be lower like it was in tree. It can be higher, but you want to be really comfortable in your hip and your knee. And then feel that right heel on the floor. Inhale into a nice long back here, so that when you exhale, it's like you're just drawing your torso forward as one piece, whether it's an inch or 2 inches or 3 inches. Now, if you know this is really difficult, forward bending is for you, you can always come out of the forward bend when you inhale, and then when you exhale, come forward again, maybe gradually getting deeper and deeper. Right? Same thing if you can inhale when you're forward, stay there, and then exhale, draw yourself a little bit more. Gradually, in these little increments, making your way forward. So remember, it's you being with your own breath. Good. One more breath here. Now be easy when you come back up. Let your belly work a little bit to get you there. And we're going to switch, put our left foot right there in the strap. And again, get comfortable with where you bring your right foot, right? Again, if you need to support it, support it. Any kind of iffiness that feels kind of wonky, you can even straighten that right leg out if there's something really going on there. So press into the strap, look at your foot, make sure you're not rolling to the pinky toe or the big toe side of the foot. You can tell when you look at the strap. And then ease your way on your exhale, maybe just a little bit forward. Inhales, lengthen the spine. Exhales, bring you forward. So that you can just incrementally work your way to where, and when you get to that place where you're at the edge, that's as far as you're going to go, come back out of it a little bit. Let your body adjust. One more breath here. And then slowly let yourself rise on back up. Take your strap on off, put it on to the side. And then, before you lie down, get a block handy. And we're going to come on down onto our backs on the floor. Just have the block where you can reach over and get it in a minute, okay? And then bring your knees in towards your chest and let your knees come side to side as far as you want, that, just rolling through the low back. And then bring your feet to the floor, take your block, and we're going to bring the block, and I do it the narrow way because I'm pretty narrow hipped, but between your thighs, like not right into the inside of your knees, but above a little bit. Now you can go to the wider width if that feels better to you. Actually, it might today feel better. I don't know, I got to play with it. So how wide apart, which part of how the block is there for you, whether it's the narrowest or the middle. Take your time, squeeze your thighs into that block. Imagine you're feeding the block downward towards the foot of your mat, right? And then start to lift up into a little bridge pose. Squeezing those thighs, rolling your shoulders under, whether you have your elbows bent or arms straight. Keep squeezing gently into the block. Feel the sense of lengthening the top buttock muscles down towards your knees. Good. One more breath. Keep feeling that block there. And then slowly let yourself come down. Go ahead and take your block out. Bring your knees in. And then open the knees out, soles of the feet towards each other. Come into a little Baddha Konasana, releasing those inner thighs. So you don't have to bring the feet all the way together. You can just go part way. Let yourself either hold your shins, your ankles, or wrap your hands around your feet if that feels good. Good. And then bring your knees on back together. Stretch your arms overhead and let the palms face up, but let your arms relax. And then reach your legs up long so the feet is like you're putting footprints on the ceiling. And go ahead and move your legs back and forth into a little bit of like you're cross-country skiing up there. And start to listen to your body. And see what you feel like doing right now. If you want to go back, revisit a bridge pose again without that block, or if you feel like you'd like to come into any other pose or movement, right? If you need to do a plow pose, if you would like to let yourself come into a twist here, right? Really just paying attention to what feels really good to you after what we've done this morning. Take a few minutes here so that it'll be easy for you to come into Shavasana when it's time. But start to move around in case some of you are getting ready for Shavasana. I'll be able to bring what you might need. Don't rush. Same at home. If you feel like it would be good to grab a blanket for support under your head, or rolled up for under your knees, or, you might need a blanket for cover. Sometimes even if you're not really that chilly, the weight of a blanket feels really good. So wave at me if you're in here and something sounds good to bring you a little support. Let yourself just take your time to find your arms and legs releasing to the best place for your shoulders and your hips, and that could be anywhere. We're all different. See if you can just start to accept your breaths now, the wave of the breath in and out. Sometimes something as simple as thinking a word when you inhale and a different word when you exhale can help you focus more easily. It can be as easy as in and out. Or if you have a mantra that you would like to focus on with your breath. But just give yourself the gift of these few minutes, allowing your body and your brain to find those little quiet places, kind of getting out of your own way so that your body and your mind can benefit how they need. Just let yourself completely and fully relax. let's gradually come in and go out more deeply and fully. Feeling those deeper breaths bring you back into wanting to physically move fingers and toes at first, maybe. Moving up through your extremities, arms and legs. You might even want to let your head roll a little side to side. Just be easy as you come back into gently moving again. You know you're welcome to stay on your back. You're welcome to roll onto either your right or your left side if you're comfortable to do that. You can come into a soft fetal position on your side. Just be mindful so that when you do feel like you're ready to come up to sitting, it feels easy. You can stay very relaxed as you come to sit however's comfortable. Let your eyes stay closed so you can just keep your focus inside for a little bit longer so that you can watch your breath again once you're seated. You can feel the belly expanding as you breathe in. You might even come into those 3-part breaths. And let your next exhale bring your hands gently to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.